Alright guys, welcome to Full Spectrum Warrior. In this show we head over to the Star Citizen forums and see what little nuggets of pain and passion have been bouncing round your vacuumous heads. Keep in mind this is a show about people's opinions. I share a lot of my own opinions in this. Feel free to agree, disagree and strongly disagree in the comments below. All discussion is welcome. Please CIG, give us a companion app, that would be amazing. Imagine having an app that you can control ship features like open the door, or even for engineering to change stuff on the ship from within the companion app. Scroll until you find the 5 million entry. Tablet companion application to check on your inventory, commission or find missions, and get the galactic newsfeed. No freaking way. What is this? Oh my god. Banu Merchantman unlocked. We need to do a video. We need to do a whole video on this. This is gonna be funny. What? Hadesian artifact. The mystery of what happened in Hades. In devastating civil war that left the planet cracked in half, but so many questions remained. An engine tuning kit, the BB-12, a brand new manned maneuvering unit from Azure Sky Aero. We really need to read this one day. Whether you're engaging in precision mining operations or delicate salvage retrieval, the BB-12 is capable of EVA operations for 6 uninterrupted hours. What is that? Is that some kind of spacesuit? Or like a mech or something? Anyway, we need to stay on task, people. We need gameplay, not ships. Buy the good shop. I get it, you had to sell concept ships for a decade to get the ball rolling and keep the lights on. Fake spaceships are cool, that's fine. Otherwise none of us would be here. People bought the dream. However, with the release of the Apollo, it is evident that these lazy variants and unsuccessful concept ship deliveries are not where the sustainability of this project lies. Unfortunately, given the money that was made last year, you might be wrong about that. And that kind of applies to quite a lot of the game, especially in areas where a lot of players find the game lacking, typically in a gameplay sense. Basically anything that we don't like right now, there's a danger of CIG saying, well, we just had our best financial year on record, so we must be doing something right. And that's kind of annoying when you think about things like the flight model and what this person is saying here. I'll just read on a bit, you'll see what I mean. The Apollo, like most things in this game, is gorgeous both in concept art and its final release form. The painful reality is that it's a flop because medical gameplay is as carefully considered as spilled medical gel. Once again, I get it, you had to deliver a concept hero medical ship that you sold. That's fair and good on you for trying to deliver. I would argue that the people who wanted that concept medical hospital ship were dreaming of a vehicle that enabled them to play doctor, nurse, surgeon or ambulance driver. They weren't dreaming of driving an oversized respawn point, and that's the premise of this whole point. And we all know that within the company these two sections of the game are delivered by completely separate teams. We know that. But it definitely still grates when the only reliable constant is the production line of new ships. But even if you break down that, and I know there's a business decision being taken there to make new ships instead of bringing the older ships up to operational ability, but you can see there's a heavy offset in the make new ships category over the bring the old ships up to speed. And there's a lot going on in the background there. Don't get me wrong, there's a ton of engineering and capabilities being added and basically no one notices unless CIG points it out and goes, ta-da, we brought the Aurora up to gold standard. And that's great, and it's like, yeah, well done, but let's be honest. I can't even really remember the last ship that, I'm not 100%, but I think the one before that was the Retaliator bomber, and it's unusable. I've not checked that this patch, but last patch only one bomb bay would work at a time. And you still have to self-destruct your ship to get the modules to show up inside. That goes for the Apollo as well. In this person's post they go on to say how the medical gameplay should be deeply meaningful and not just a $250 ship. And it's very hard to push back against, to be honest. But like we've already said, it's different teams, so it becomes quite difficult to rationalise taking away ship teams, especially when the formula they have works so well. I would suggest not subtracting anything, but simply adding. They say this extends beyond medical to reputation, economy, ship customization, science exploration, data running, racing, refueling, repairing and rearming, factions and guilds, persistence, etc. And they're right, they say give us gameplay, not ship sales. I say give us gameplay and ship sales. And obviously we don't know the numbers and the cost of running this massive business at this point. And we know a lot of the development is locked up in Squadron 42. But you could possibly argue, that there's funding somewhere for staff and training that would help move all these gameplay assets forward faster. That was a record-breaking year. Are we bringing more staff in with that money to get the game up to speed? Or are we still stuck with this seeming fallacy at this point that we need to wait on Squadron finishing? Personally though, and I know most of those things that got mentioned there either don't exist yet or are borked in some way, but given the gigantic complexity of the project, it's possible you could argue going too fast is maybe not the greatest idea either for stability reasons and playability reasons. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. It would be good to sit down with someone at CIG who knew what they were talking about and could answer honestly why something is this way and why some things are another way with no bullshit. Because I think if we heard the real reasons, a lot of these things would disappear, as is usually the case when someone like Benoit comes on and we've been like, oh, why does the freight elevators not work for so long? And he just explains it all and we go, oh, alright, cool. When's that going to be fixed? We actually don't know. We're still working on it. We're going to try this, we're going to try that, and we'll see what happens. And it just assuages the masses. And suddenly it's okay. We know somebody's on the job, we know they're doing everything they can, and that might be the case here. We need to sell X amount of ships to keep the place afloat. We can't take on any more staff because we would be over budget. Who knows? 2992 SCU, only 60U box. CIG. Really? CIG, could you please give us the possibility to choose the size of box we have to load in our ships? Why not 32 SCU boxes for those missions? I know that some players don't have hull series ships or big ships in general, but for people who bought those big ships, let us use them as they are intended. And it's the same for small missions. Why not 4 or 2 SCU crates instead of 1? I don't ask to make the game easier, I ask to make logistics more realistically approached. Yeah, 100% this. It just doesn't make any sense. The boxes should scale with the ship. Any other approach is just wasting people's time. I would hope that this is a planned feature. I know the mission designers are probably trying to balance a lot of things like the amount of money you make for the time spent and stuff like that, but balance it from the top end down. If you need to bring down the payout for moving 3000 SCU and 32 boxes, then just do that, because it's the knowledge in the player's head that this could be 32 SCU boxes that drives us mental. Also, as a side note, you can auto-load this contract with Hull C. No need to load it manually, and by the way, auto-loading is mostly broken. I had a small amount of hope the Hull C would pull through and be useful. It didn't and wasn't, thus ended my involvement in another event. By the way, we are in general right now. We will move to game ideas and feedback eventually. General is generally quite negative, but also not wrong most of the time. CIG, please add weight to ships. It's time. In fact, it's time yesterday. My Polaris shot in the air like with a giant spring because the ramp of this ship of multiple thousand tons touched a pebble. It flipped over and landed on its back. Kamuro, the beacon of truth and light, says, we don't have any mass simulation yet, no inertia. Nothing feels weighty. Ships, vehicles, wrecks, containers, etc. have the mass of an empty paper bag. This directly has an effect on driving physics. No mass simulation, no inertia leads to massive oversteering. No feedback for the driver. Ground vehicles just pivot around a centre Z-axis. A 70-ton Nova tank on a 1G planet jumps around as if it was made out of paper. To be honest, I think this ship has sailed. If a game wants to have some physics, even very basic ones, it has to be done from the start. If CIG would try and put some basic physics into Star Citizen now, some basic mass simulation, some inertia, this would break a lot of things and a lot of the quick and dirty fixes. Chris, 2012. Yes, this is old, but people read this and decided to give Chris money. As someone that was taking physics at Manchester University before I dropped out to make games full time, I can assure everyone that the physics model is completely accurate, and it's a full rigid body simulation. Yeah, Kamuro always has his ducks all lined up in a row for shooting down. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think he's right. We are never going to get the simulation. I have noticed quite a big improvement in some of the vehicles. They've started to feel quite nice in some instances, and they don't jump around as much when you leave them in a ship hangar. But that could just be a few exceptions to the rule that I've encountered recently. RSI Hermes should have been modules for the Apollo. I have to agree with this take, because it would have just made more sense. I know it would have involved altering the chassis and the back door and stuff every time you switched modules, but I just feel like it would have been a better fit. And it is a nice ship, and I've been knocking it, but somebody was saying that that tractor beam is absolutely fire. Like, you can actually load things in there fast as hell with it. Just zips back and forward. So, I mean, we might have been a bit quick to judge, but I think an Apollo cargo module would have landed better in the community, especially now they're getting backlash about the paints and stuff as well. Like, it just comes off as the normal CIG squeezing the pennies out of his player base. But it is a nice ship. The whole Apollo lineup it was a bit ill considered, let's be real. They've sold a concept for a triage and a medevac. They've realised too late that it should just be modules. There's not enough variance between the two ships to justify two separate ships, but they've not wanted to give the concept buyers their money back. Simple as that. So now we've got 3 variants. C2 must have tractor beam like in Hermes. Yes. 100% yes. I don't think... C2 still doesn't have a tractor beam, does it? Was it just never supposed to have a tractor beam? That's actually mad. All 3 variants should have this rail-mounted tractor beam, because it's supposed to be really awesome. This guy says Hercules Mark II will have this for sure. Don't say stuff like that, man. Star map. Fix the goddamn star map. Seriously, we need it every few minutes and it only works 10% of the time. It's a complete disaster to work with. A simple list on the MFD would work just fine. No need for a 3D map that is tied through our Mobiglass. But CIG like to overcomplicate a design for the sake of overcomplicating. Yes. Except this guy. Well, some genius at CIG thinks 2 MFDs are enough. Also yes. We must never let them win. But both. We should have both. Introduce the Hermes cargo ship in a cargo event. Make a medium contract that almost perfectly matches the Hermes capacity. Give a reward for a paperweight ship that looks almost exactly like the Hermes but doesn't work on the Hermes. It's a free skin. This isn't even greed. It's just like incompetence. Even event FOMO is not bringing my friends or org mates back. And those that do log in for the event only suffer the game long enough to get the rewards and then dip out until the next patch. I'm worried that you guys are seeing these engagement metrics and seeing them as a win when I'm not sure how much fun people are actually having, which isn't really good for the longevity. Yeah, I don't know, I quite enjoyed this one, but it was mostly because it was working. And it's had a nice unique side to it where most of general chat is just teaming up and spamming each other with missions. So it went in quite quick as well. It didn't feel as grindy because of that. And there was a nice camaraderie sort of feeling. And I don't know how I would feel if I was still playing the game solo. I feel like having the Discord and the org around now, it's made a kind of buffer where there's always somebody getting up to something and you can just go and join in. Whether that's something you would normally do or not. But what I would say is that the effects of having too much currency flying around in the game will definitely be stagnating any feelings of progression, possibly any desire to grind for ships and things like that. But also, if you like playing the game legit and have managed to dodge the massive amounts of cash, if you would normally spend that on components from other players or armors and things like that, the prices have been well out of your normal range because of all the inflation. So even that little path would be cut off. So yeah, I see what this guy's saying, but I'm actually having quite a good time personally. The end of the last patch was a nightmare. The performance on those servers was absolutely disgusting. But now that everything's fresh again and a lot of things are working, yeah, I'm enjoying just going out exploring, doing a bit of looting, running Hathor with some friends and stuff. And there's a lot of hype around as well. We've got that rock cracker mission coming, we've got crafting being sampled. Personal experience obviously is different for everybody. In this game, it does tend to generate waves of interest. But your friends and org mates, they must just not be hardcore enough, bro. You're in the wrong org. Come and join my Discord. Watch this, it'll be 1 week later and there'll be tumbleweeds flying around the Discord. Yeah, going down this list, it is just eternally people having a bad time. Not gonna lie. And it's all kind of small things, minor gripes, or people having bad experiences for one or two quite specific reasons. Which is par for the course round these parts. Let's go over some game ideas. We need a way to choose hangar size. Yes. Next. Tractor beam auto loading. So with the ship positioned right, you should be able to engage a mode where the tractor beam auto loads your ship. Of course via a blade slot. I don't know, man. I would love this too. That would be really cool. But trying to imagine it working in Star Citizen gives me the fear. Not gonna lie. People may have different opinions about this, but loading cargo manually, oh, that is just not for me. There is literally nothing in the game more boring to me. And it's one of the only things in the game where I struggle to even imagine where the fun is. You know, normally you can sort of see where somebody's coming from when they're into something you don't like. You can see how it might sort of itch their brain a bit, but cargo loading is, oh, it's paint drying material like. So I would absolutely love this. But giving AI free reign to zip 32 SCU crates around a hangar, somebody's gonna die. Ships are gonna blow up. There's just no way that pans out. I like physicalized cargo, but just not the loading bit or the offloading bit. I know you're gonna hate me for this, but if it was up to me, that cargo would be teleporting on your ship still. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I know there's an auto-load feature in the game, but it seems to only work for certain contracts or for certain things. So yeah, I used to haul cargo all the time. It's all I used to do. But I never touch it these days. I ain't hauling all of that, son. It's just not fun to me. What every spaceport and city should have. Basic weapon and combat, supply shop, accessible food and drink, travel, and travel to other districts or planetary locations. Yeah, I think they do not too bad. I'm sure there are some obvious examples where there's a distinct lack, like Lorville Spaceport, you can't get food and drink. Pretty sure you can get weapons in Lorville now though, right? Personal weapons, Tamney and Sons I think. And they were going to put a gun shop in there, so something's at least planned there. But what I would like to see is all the ship dealers be individual. So you go to Microtech and you've maybe got like Gattac and Origin and a couple of other brands, and they're all individual showrooms. Like, because those cities, they're basically just sitting around doing nothing. We're even spawning in our hangar now. So it'd be good to have them be functional in some way that's kind of cool. And heading into the big city because it's that time to go ship shopping it would be kind of cool, I think. And it's not like there's a lack of space. We could get these slotted in quite easily in a way that all the ships are on display. That's what I think anyway. Maybe some other things to do there as well. Get those mission givers back up and running. Get those instance underground areas all running. Could be quite cool. And something to do, a buggy track or just some more fun things. Basketball court, or maybe set up a bar with a chessboard and a card game or something. Some gambling. In fact, all stations should have a games room like that as well, for when you're waiting for your ship. Instanced tutorials. This is a freaking great idea. Exactly what you think it is. Take the whole tutorial or tutorials and place them into instances. This would make them easily repeatable. They would break less often, hopefully, and players couldn't be interfered with. I don't really know how bad the tutorials are. I've never actually went through them myself, but I've heard bad things. And I don't know what sort of resources this would take up, but it seems like a great idea on the surface. Shipping labels for boxes. Yes, or just nameable boxes. Even if something like this, ship to and from, and a mission identifier was to pop up when you grab the box, that would be enough. But yeah, we also do want boxes that we can name Weapons Crate 1 or Rant of Dung. Especially with crafting coming in, we're gonna need nameable boxes. Give now. Best Star Citizen event yet. Alive, social, PvE focused and simply brilliant. This event is genuinely excellent. It brings together so many positive design choices. First, the most important thing, I've never felt such a lively, living world in Star Citizen. People met up in groups and actually worked together, and it was wonderfully easy to find a group. Were there players who tried to take advantage of it? Sure, but compared to the overall experience, it was completely negligible. To satisfy the FOMO part of my brain, I initially focused on finishing the event, but I'll definitely keep going, simply to support other players. It's primarily a PvE event, fantastic. It's also an event where different playstyles are viable. Combat, mining, cargo, it's all there. And thanks to the group aspect, everyone can focus on what they personally enjoy the most. The social side is strongly encouraged without being forced. I can do the whole thing as a solo player or as part of a group and both feel good. Yeah, I've actually got to agree with this. I have seen some people having trouble, I have seen some massive hanger queues for some people, but as far as I can tell, me and none of the people that I ended up working with experienced any of that. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, it definitely did happen, and CIG really needs to get that freaking sorted, because I think they're still running that one primary pad and trying to run 600, 700 player servers and events, and it's just dumb as hell. But overall, this has been the smoothest experience so far, for me personally anyway. And I know teamwork is a bit of a stretch there, because mostly it's solo players sharing missions, and that's not exactly multiplayer per se, but you still got this sense of everybody working towards a common goal. I mean, it was hard to get here. We had to go through some shit previously to iron all this out, and I'm pretty sure we'll iron out the rest. A big ATC rework is required. And I think we'll be talking to Benoit this week on one of the Star Citizen shows, so hopefully it will get a mention. Arena Commander cheater one-shots Idris with any ship, and with a P4 rifle. So I was playing some Arena Commander last night, and I ran into an exploiter/cheater who was able to one-shot any ship, including an Idris. They even killed the Idris with a P4 rifle after he ejected from his ship. Even after people started saying they were going to report them, they didn't shy away from trolling. The entire lobby was trying to kill him. So I've put this in here just as a PSA, so y'all can just keep your eyes open. It also has a side benefit now. If you get mollywopped in a fight, then that guy was obviously just hacking, and you can leave with your dignity intact. Suggestions for a new weapon. With the recent weapons introduced that looked like they were made out of stuff just lying around, made me think there are a lack of grenade launchers. My idea is a multi-tool made into a single shot grenade launcher. Has like a broken tractor beam attachment and a chamber on front that a grenade would be loaded into, and the broken tractor beam would launch the grenade a fair distance. Another one would be the heavy duty tractor beam made into a railgun or a grenade launcher. Just seems like the universe is lacking the inventive criminal element. This thought came to mind with the recent additions and the release of the Grey's Market Shiv. Yeah, that sounds cool. Just some stripped out and modded crazy gun variants. You can even do like an overloaded salvage gun beam that just cooks everything. Yeah, I like that idea, dude. That's awesome. Dedicated piracy missions for the RSI Mantis. Yes, why is this not a freaking thing? Interdict an NPC cargo ship, hauler, smuggler, convoy. Using the Mantis, disable or force the ship to stop, board or access the cargo, steal a defined percentage or specific crates, have a timer for security response. Like, this is what's missing, is good boarding missions. I don't even know what state Vaughn is in this patch, I've not checked, but a good few people in my Discord, that was their favourite thing to do, and then they got knackered for a few patches there and the whole game loop just died, and there was nothing to fill that gap for them. We'd need disable, board and pirate cargo missions. I find them to be the most engaging because it involves a variety of gameplay each time. You need to be ready for FPS, you need to be ready for ship combat, you're doing a bit of cargo hauling. Okay, so the FPS is limited, but it would be good to hear from CIG how far out we are from having active armed NPCs on ships that we need to fight our way through after boarding. And you could get these on the verified and unverified tabs. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this up, Astrolooter. You've brought the whole idea into perfect focus. We really, really need this in the game so much. Such an engaging game loop. Rename throwables to equipment and let us store multi-tool attachments. It sucks bringing a tractor attachment and Cambrio light because when you die you can only keep one, and then you have to make a trip to the store or keep a stash on your ship that will also inevitably explode. Yeah, we should be able to use grenade slots on our armour for storing attachments. Fantastic idea. I love this section. Cousin Crow's aftermarket conversions. With the new medium salvage ship coming up and its silhouette being remarkably like the mole, we were discussing the possibility of converting moles into this ship. Whilst I'm not sure this would be an exact use case, I was thinking this would be a great additional service provided by Cousin Crow's. That's a really good point actually. If CIG is gonna insist on releasing variants of ships instead of making them modular, how awesome would it be if you had a Cutty Black that you could take to a ship shop, pay a little bit of money, less than obviously the full ship, and get it converted into a Cutty Red or a Cutty Blue. Maybe you provide a certain amount of materials and some extra money. And it would serve as like a shortcut if you can't afford or just aren't interested in building out a base with a fabrication hangar and all that stuff, because there will be people, especially while there's no formal way to trade or create contracts within the game, there will be people who will never trust other players. There will be people who would never hand over 30 million to another player and say, make me a ship. So CIG will have to implement some base level kind of system through shops and NPCs and whatever, so that the majority of players can engage in some way in that. I'm not saying they should be able to make tier 5 ships, perhaps they should, that's maybe a discussion we should have, but yeah, fleshing out a base system where players can input resources and money to fabricate components and ships through NPC vendors and things like that would be a really good idea, and this idea of Cousin Crow's converting ships into its other variants could be a cool little addition to that whole system. It's a fantastic idea, dude. Yeah, I really like it. Remy, you're today's full spectrum warrior, dude. In the future I'd like to see Cousin Crow's do something like the ship kits in Elite Dangerous. Not as far as Shiv, but just like additional spikes and spoilers and stuff like that. Maybe just the Shiv system but with options instead of full ships. Exclusive decals and things like that. But yeah, awesome sauce. Can we have a customizable hotbar to quickly pull specific items to our hands? Would be great for getting foods or drinks, or swapping a gun from backpack to hands. How do you feel about that one, guys? Sounds like a good idea, but I feel like there's a counter argument there that I'm too tired and dumb to see right now. Oh my god. Sorry, I've been recording that with the microphone miles away from my face for quite a long time. I do apologise. Like I said, tired and dumb. New idea for the caterpillar. So the 2 tractor beams that are already there aren't doing anything. What if on the right side there would be a small launch station for a tractor beam drone? It would be a display and the drone can move freely in a radius around the ship. Now initially I dismissed this, but I shouldn't have, because when you think about it, and you think about that command module, right? If that's a very simple process, if that's the press of a button for that command module to disconnect, you stick a tractor beam on that and you already have a manned tractor platform that can circle the ship. God, I'm a genius. Phoenix, you get like, I'll give you half of the points for that idea. Okay, like 80% credit. My god, that would be so cool. See, this is why this section is just the best section. Feature request, armor mounted auto revive module. Here we freaking go. Introduces a single high-use, high-cost medical attachment that can be equipped on specific armor types. When a player becomes incapacitated, the module automatically revives them after a short delay. This gives the player a way to stay in the fight without relying on rescue beacons that often go unanswered. Genius, dude. Absolutely genius. Okay, I think that's enough full spectrum warriors for one day. It just goes to show how much ingenuity there is in the community, how much backing CIG has got. The depth of the pool that they can draw from is immense. And we have a lot to be thankful to CIG for. But you guys have put up with a lot. And there's still so much passion there and creativity and tolerance. We all get the objective. To make the best freaking space game in the history of space games. And when you see people taking their spare time to just sit there and work through an idea and then bravely posting it on Spectrum, you'll get nothing but respect from me. And I'm really glad I've dug myself into a little position here to help share some of that around. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll see you again sometime. 07 guys.